All right. We are on. And this is another recording and week of Paranormal. I am one of your hosts. I'm Rachel. And then we have
Kaz. Hello, everybody.
Well, it's a non-exciting week. Like we were just discussing before we hit record. I've been going through audio of our last trip to Wildwood.
Mm-hmm.
Was in which was in February. We're still in February.
We are. We're almost done.
So I just listened to 4 hours of sleepy time with snoring investigators, and I think at one point someone farted.
Of course, they would
Don't
have
know
to.
who it was, but
well, it wasn't me because I wasn't there.
Because you weren't there, but you will be there next time.
Oh, can't wait to go back.
Because we are going in a month and a half.
Mm-hmm.
We're going back.
Yeah, like too long.
That's going to be a weekend because we're going to another place while we're out there, but I'm not going to say yet.
I know. We're like doubling down.
Yeah, it's a twofer weekend. It's a twofer weekend. Yeah, we don't really have much this week. It's been a quiet week.
But you know what? It's been snowy and crappy, and now today was actually really nice.
I know, shit's melting.
Yes, so there we go.
Yeah, all week.
We're on
it's
the
going to be
like,
it's going to rain this week. Like rain, not snow, but it's going to rain, and then it's going to snow. Because, winter just can't let go. Just yet. It's like that clingy ex-boyfriend. Today's topic is ghosts in the Northwest Territories. Now, I thought this was going to give us like a lot of ghost stories because, it's an old part of Canada, like Gold Rush we're talking about, like all that kind of stuff. And do you think we could find anything other than a few? No.
I know. There's just maybe because it's just so much open space.
Yeah.
Not enough people have been there to experience the ghosts.
No.
Maybe.
I don't know. But, it is known for its ice roads and ice road truckers. So a little nod out to them.
Yeah. Crazy bastards.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I don't even like driving on the 401 Sundays.
Yeah, it's been some hair-raising times for me getting home lately, I'm not going to lie. But I don't have a big rig truck with all those like chain tire things on. I just have an SUV that is like, yeah, we're going to probably slide over here right now. Anyways.
Oh my gosh. All right, well, I guess let's jump into this probably somewhat short episode.
Yeah.
Now, some of the stuff I did find, like, people talk about it being haunted, but they don't actually say why they think it's haunted. Like, no experiences or, people seeing things or all that. It's just that they just believe it's haunted.
Legend. Yeah. I think, honestly, the three I have, I mean, stuff's happened in all three of them, but there's not really been a definitive, well, maybe that's not true. I'll just stop talking. Edit that out and go.
All right. I'll start because I got more than you, but yours are bigger. So
Mine
I have
are bigger. Yeah.
So the first one that I have is the old Yellowknife Dairy Jam Space. Now, as jam space, as in this is like a music space.
Oh,
to jam.
I'm legit thinking like dairy and jam. I'm like, okay, sure.
It's a PB&J factor. No.
Yes, I'm like eggs and honey, dairy and jam. Okay.
So this building is located in Cam Lake. And around midnight one night, a drummer from a band was alone in the jam space, and he saw a young Inuk boy looking at him from the doorway. So he says that this boy kind of did a little bit of a jump in front of the doorway, like, ha, right? And then he took off. So being startled, this drummer chased after this kid who he saw. But when he got to the doorway, there was no one running down the hall. The doors were all closed and they were all locked, and there was no sound. This child has just vanished.
Whoa.
So that was one sighting. On another occasion, the band was practicing when an iPod that they were using suddenly just flipped over on its own. Everyone in the room apparently saw this happen, and no one could explain it. So yeah,
Creepy.
that's interesting. Wish I could see that stuff happen. As I'm just gonna turn my notes here. Okay. So it says here that while these two sightings are the most memorable so far, there was a period when the space gave many of its occupants an uneasy and ominous sensation whenever any of the band members were there.
Oh.
They reported seeing all sorts of black shadows creeping down the hallways. There have been times when the hair have been standing up on the back of their necks. And they had this like really odd feeling of evil or something, and they just didn't want to be there.
Yikes.
Yeah. So an energy worker was brought in, and they described this energy as mischievous and playful, like a teenager wanting attention.
Oh.
And that it was harmless, misdirected, and curious.
Nice.
Yeah. That's it.
All right.
Or the dairy jam place.
With the jams. Dairy and jams. All right. Well, I'm going to start off with my biggest one, which is the Nahanni National Park. This is in Fort Smith, Northwest Territories, of course. It borders the Yukon on the west and then almost BC and Alberta at the south. It is also known as the Valley of the Headless Men. That's beautiful. Wouldn't you like to vacation there?
Lovely.
It is impenetrable. It's only accessible by boat or float plane. So it's not like you can just drive there and go hang out. Like you got to really want to go to this place.
It's not like it's Yellowstone.
Exactly. So legend has it. So this place was kind of sought after because it was so untouched. And in the gold rush days, people had heard that this was probably one of the best places to go. So you had to be really dedicated to go.
Mm-hmm.
In 1904, two brothers, Frank and Willie McLeod, journeyed to the Nahanni Range to find gold. Upon their return, they seemed to have been successful as they had quite a bit of gold and bragged about it. Then they decided to go back the following year. They headed there and were never seen or heard of again. In 1908, their other brother, Charlie McLeod, led a search party to find them. When they got to their camp, they discovered two skeletons at the campground. Their heads had been severed and gone, and one was laying with his arm outstretched towards his gun. It had appeared that both men had been startled and jumped out of their beds, but were obviously ambushed. And from then on, it was known as the Dead Man Valley and the Headless Creek in that particular area. Now, there was also a Scottish engineer who strangely disappeared while on an expedition. There was also in 1917 another prospector named Martin Jorgensen. Sure. He was searching for gold, and shortly after reporting home that he had struck it rich, he was later found decapitated near his camp. His camp had been ransacked and set on fire. Again, no head found. Over the years, the RCMP have reported numerous deaths in the same manner. So people being found decapitated, but no heads.
I don't think I want to go anymore.
Oh, right. There's also been numerous reports of people just simply disappearing, going for hikes and never being heard of again.
Almost kind of sounds like Hoyubachu.
It is very strange.
The Canadian version.
And the crazy thing is, like, you have to be really dedicated to go there. It's not like you just stumble upon this place and you're like, oh, let's check this down. No, you have to like purposely go there. So there's been numerous unexplained plane crashes that occur near the expansive mountains that have now been nicknamed Funeral Range. I'm digging some of these names.
Who came up with these
So
names?
I don't know. They're just like go there and die place. That's what they're coming up with. So of course, the first people in and around there, the first settlers over 10,000 years ago, would often speak of mythological creatures and spirits that were hiding and play pranks in the woods. They talked of an ancient giant of the Rabbit Kettle Hot Springs, who was said to cook his dinner in the springs. And so to this day, the Decho people of the area, they leave offerings to appease the spirits and the giants. This should have been on the other one that we did about folklore. Numerous UFO sightings and strange lights are often reported over the park. A bear-type dog hybrid is said to prowl the valley. And of course, Bigfoot has been sighted galore in and around the park. Of course he has. He's
Oh
everywhere.
my gosh.
Has to make a
All I
cameo
could
in
think
today's.
of when you were like they leave offerings is somebody eating a squirrel. Just like, like
Funnily enough, they leave tobacco.
oh.
Yes, because that's said to bring, I think, good luck. So they leave it and sort of just peace and you leave us alone and you cook your squirrels and other shit in the hot springs. We'll be over here bathing in your cooking water. Please don't eat us.
Flavor.
So most recently, probably within the last 100 years, some of the park has actually been closed off to visitors. The park enforcement said it's to protect the sensitive ecosystem, but the local people say it's to contain the park's supernatural forces and to protect the people from what lurks inside. Isn't that crazy? So there are a lot of reported documented deaths. So that did happen, including the plane crashes. Other stuff is just kind of hearsay. But I'm not about to go in there and investigate to see if it's real.
No, I don't want to go. It sounded good at the beginning, and then no.
I know.
No.
It didn't sound good at the beginning. People are getting decapitated and no, none of it. None of it sounds good. No, you keep
God.
it.
Oh crap! All right, I guess it's my turn.
Mm-hmm.
So I also have the Northern Arts and Cultural Centers. So the NACC rehearsal space. For apparently some reason, the ghosts out in the Northwest Territories love rehearsal spaces. Anyways, it is reportedly plagued by a visitor who seems to desperately want to get inside. So they've heard this knocking on the emergency exit door, and it would begin almost every night around 8:15 p.m. And not just a few taps, but it would be minutes of somebody banging.
Oh my Lord.
To get in. Sometimes it would be heard for days and days in a row, and that they would bang on it for about 3 to 4 minutes at a time. Late at night, there is a weird energy, like you're going to see someone or someone is kind of lingering about. That is it for this place because that's all they've talked about. Done.
Wow.
Like, I know.
You know what I think of for some reason? I don't know why. I think of that room, in Settlers Village, in my favorite place, the Ray House, in the back, the quilting place. I don't know why. That's what I think of. That's the place. That's what I'm thinking of. I don't know. It's not even a rehearsal place. I don't know.
No, that's weird. But I will read my next one here, which is the Yellowknife Inn, which is now Quality Inn and Suites.
Well, that's amazing.
Here. Nice. But so the real Yellowknife Inn was knocked down back in 1992 when the original 1940s era structure was demolished to make way for the concrete noose, as they call it. That is the YK Center Mall.
Oh.
So the pre-90s Yellowknife Inn was a meeting place, a crossroads, and a hangout. So pardon me, the Bushmen and pilots and the quirky folks about town would all gather up at the old school diner atmosphere that they had there, and just kind of hang out It was called the Miner's Mess, so they would hang out. And I found it funny, and I kept this in my notes, that the person that they described that built the original structure, his name was Wooden Leg Vic Ingram.
Wait,
so I guess he had
again, because you completely froze and you just went, whoa, and then it just froze.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
So what was the name? Unless that was the name.
Wooden Leg Vic Ingram.
Oh.
So he must have had a wooden leg.
If not, he would be very confused.
Yeah.
Imagine it was like a prosthetic penis, but from back in those days would have been wooden. And that's what they referred to. Oh, that's classic. All right.
Perfect. Now all I can think of splinters.
Damn.
So in this new Yellowknife Inn, which is now the Quality Inn and Suites, somebody had wrote that they stayed in room 300, and the entire time they had feelings of not being alone. The sink tap in the bathroom turned on by itself. They also felt that as if someone was standing at the foot of the bed and then sitting down on the bed, and they could see the indent of where this person was sitting. Yeah. The TV and the lights are constantly turned off. So if you fell asleep with the TV or the lights on, you would wake up and they'd be off.
Nice.
This particular room has a very chilly atmosphere. Like nothing keeps it warm. No heat, no nothing. They've also reported hearing a woman in the hallway who was distressed and yelling, "Who are you? Get out." But no one witnessed anything.
Damn.
And another guest that had stayed in the room prior had reportedly seen a man standing near the window wearing old-timey clothing and a miner's hat.
Wow. Maybe it was just a pervert in the room.
Yeah, you know.
That's interesting. Sometimes I find like the walls are not overly thick in a lot of hotels, and you can hear people moving or walking around. And if you're half asleep, maybe you think it's in the room. But there's no denying, if you see someone in the room or if someone sits on the end of your bed, that would be kind of,
I don't know.
See the indentation.
I was going to say, I think feeling that someone's sitting at the end of the bed and seeing that indentation would probably freak me out just a little bit, to the point where I'd be like, what the fuck is this?
Exactly. Wow. Well, that's cool. I like it. All right. Well, I'll get on with mine. This one is called the Mackenzie River Ghost. This is obviously in the Northwest Territories, northern part of Northwest Territories, because it's a river. So it actually flows, a spans. Anyways, in 1853, Augustus Richard Piers, who was a fur trader and Hudson's Bay post manager, out at Fort McPherson, suddenly and mysteriously died at the age of 33. That's all they say. Suddenly and mysteriously died at age 33. It's 1853. That's probably old age then. He probably just had a cold and died. But anyways, they don't ever talk anything else about his death. Just that. So a man, well, apparently, I don't know, I said it that way. Apparently, towards his, it says here, suddenly mysteriously died. But then in another article I read, it said, fearing the end was near, Pierce said, "Do not leave my bones here." Anyways, either way, a man named Roderick McFarlane was instructed to transport the body of Pierce to Fort Simpson via dog sled, which is hundreds of kilometers south. I don't know what the significance is at Fort Simpson, maybe because fort to fort, that was what they had to do. So he embarked on this journey, and they went along the bank of the Mackenzie River. One evening while resting, the gentleman and the sled were circled and threatened by wild animals. They say wild animals. I'm assuming wolves. That's the only thing that's really gonna. But it said circled. A polar bear wouldn't circle,
No.
Oh, sorry, animals. I don't know. Anyway, polar bear, wolves, Bigfoot, who knows? It was all of the above. So the dogs strangely surrounded the sled and the dead body and fiercely protected it, scaring away the animals. When the wild animals retreated, McFarlane quickly attached the dogs and prepared to leave. And to his horror, he heard a man's voice coming from the coffin shouting, "Marcher," which is a command for the dogs to go. This was heard multiple times throughout the trip. The voice was coming from the coffin. McFarlane did have a companion with him, and the companion also heard this. Upon arriving at Fort Simpson, McFarlane and his companion both both claimed that they had experienced the voices, but also when they would rest to sleep, they would notice a ghostly presence of peers multiple times would appear while they were trying to sleep in their tent. He would come to them, he would shake the tent, he would try to wake them, and he would talk to the dogs. What the fuck? Now, it says the Mackenzie River goes. I have no idea if you could go along the Mackenzie River and still hear him yelling. There's nothing else to it. But it was in a lot of the reports that when I Googled stuff, it came up often. So there we go. Maybe because there's only three ghost stories.
Drinking a little to keep warm out there, because apparently if they're on a dog sled, it means it's cold and it's snowing.
Oh, it's perfect. It's the Northwest Territories. When is it not cold and snowing?
True.
But
yeah,
who knows?
Did they even have summer?
Although when I Google mapped
behind me is the Northwest Territories and it's snowy.
I think there's maybe one day where it's not snowing. Maybe.
I don't know. I won't live there. Sorry.
No.
Well, the next few that I have are people assume they're haunted. There's no real report that it is haunted, but the stories behind them give people the assumption that it's probably haunted. And you know what? I believe these people because these places probably are haunted.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go with the giant mine murders.
Oh.
This is actually apparently was a big story, and when I was little, so I wouldn't have paid attention back then. But okay, so the giant mine opened in 1948 and was still producing gold more than 4 decades later. In 1990, the mine was a mainstay of Yellowknife's economy and employed 230 unionized employees, and they made an average of about $77,000 a year. So it was profitable.
Yeah.
And, people were making their money, So by 1992, the gold mine had become unprofitable. So gold prices had fallen. The richest ore seams had already been taken out. So determined to restore the mine's profitability, Royal Oak, so the company that ran the mine, cut perks for the unionized miners, toughened up workplace discipline, and demanded a 6% wage cut.
Oh.
Okay. So the Canadian Association of Smelter and Allied Workers, so these were a small militant union, were deeply suspicious of the mine's new owner and its female chief executive.
Oh.
They went union strike, so on and so forth. The bargaining committee recommended that the union members accept the new contract, but 72% of the members said no, not a chance in hell.
Oh, okay.
So the labor dispute was ugly from the beginning. Although the union planned to go on strike on May 23rd, the company locked out its members the day before.
Down.
And they decided that they were going to keep the mine operating with replacement workers.
Oh.
So we're already in a shit show here.
Mm-hmm.
So they got these replacement workers from across Canada. They brought them to Yellowknife, sometimes airlifting them via helicopter over the picket lines and onto the site.
Wow.
Where they were housed and where they were fed in temporary shelters. So this obviously pissed off these guys that
Yeah.
were, picketing.
Mm-hmm.
And they would hurl insults at the replacement workers from the entrance gate and harass them with air horns at night to keep them awake. Yeah.
Dicks.
So
And you
on
know
the
what sucks is it's not even their fault. It
No.
would like go and attack the bosses. Oh, anyway.
I know. So on the first night of the strike, union members hurled rocks at mine buildings, assaulted a security guard, burned down a shack, and knocked down a power pole delivering electricity to the mine.
Damn.
Yeah. So the RCMP responded by bringing in a riot squad from Edmonton. In June, a mob of strikers wearing balaclavas stormed the mine property, breaking windows and assaulting the guards. At that time, the company that ran Giant Mines, Royal Oak, fired 38 striking miners who had participated in this riot. So now they've been fired.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Two striking miners, Al and Tim. I'm not going to say their last names. I'll call them by their first names. Were part of a small group of the most radical union members, and they called themselves the Cambodian Cowboys.
Oh my God. Okay.
On several occasions, they broke into the mine, spray painting threatening warnings on the underground tunnel, and the second time they set off a small bomb on the mine's satellite dish. During a third break-in, they exploded a bomb inside the compressed air building that ventilates the mine tunnels.
Oh.
So this was to be considered a warning. On September 18th, 1992, at 8:45 a.m., a man car carrying 9 miners along the 750-foot level of the mine triggered a bomb set beside the rail line. This large explosion sent shockwaves throughout the mine and instantly killed all 9 men.
Oh, shit.
Spreading their remains in a ghastly scene around the tunnel.
Wow.
Yeah. So these men that were killed ranged from the age of 27 to 55. Right?
Wow. Mm-hmm.
So after a brief shutdown, the mine did reopen for operation, which was only a week later. So the company eventually then refused to negotiate an end of the labor dispute until the murderer or the murderers had been arrested.
Mm-hmm.
So the RCMP, so this was one of the most labor-intensive investigations in RCMP history, involving more than 300 police officers and lasting 13 months.
Damn.
I know. So the only real piece of evidence that they really had to go on was a fresh set of footprints, as I spit across the room, from a size 11 Kamik boots that led from an abandoned shaft into the mine, a route that they believed was taken by the murderer. So police believed that the owner of the boots was a union striker named Roger Warren.
Mm-hmm.
He was, again, one of the handful of union members that were on the picket duty that night before the murder. And yes, he did own and wear a size 11 Kamik boot. He was 49 years old at the time. He was a father to 2 little girls. He was a seasoned miner, known at the mine as Ace for his skill in blasting and breaking rock. He was arrested. So he was put on trial for murder in September of 1994. And he apparently, when he was arrested, he confessed to doing this. But once he was on trial, he recanted his statement and said he had been depressed at the time of his final interrogation by the police and that he had felt browbeaten by the RCMP into confessing. Even though he denied that he was guilty, the jury did eventually convict him of second-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life in prison.
Yikes.
He did appeal his case in 1997, but his conviction was upheld. He maintained his innocence for almost 10 years while in prison, but in 2003, he again confessed to the crime, saying he had recanted at his trial because he couldn't bear to have my family think I could do such a stupid thing. In 2014, after 18 years in jail, and despite the objections of some of the victims' families, he was granted day parole, and he was eventually released at the age of 70. So people believe that this mine is haunted because of this incident.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah. I definitely think it probably has some interesting energies.
Is it one of those mines that you can go to and they tour you around, do you think?
I don't know. I didn't even look. I don't even know if it might even still be up. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a good question.
Because I love those ones. I mean, to be honest, I would probably be quite, I don't know if claustrophobic, like nervous going. I know that they are fine if they do it on a tour, but I would just be a bit nervous going that far into underground and stuff. Kudos to the men and women that do it all the time.
Yeah. I don't know how anybody could have done it. How?
No.
All I can think of when I think of mining is Zoolander.
I was just gonna say that. I love where he's like,
hello.
I love it. Where he's like, and he's like hitting the thing, and everyone's like, "Are you kidding me?" It's like,
and he's like
bright white beater, white beater, white beater. Oh, that movie's so ridiculously good.
It's great.
Do you want me to do one, or are you doing? How many more do you have to go?
I have 2.
17. Okay, doesn't matter.
I could do one.
All right, do one more.
So I have Tin Can Hill. Yeah, it's called Tin Can Hill.
What are the names of these places? Okay.
I don't know. Well, it's named this way because it was an early dumping ground for empty tins of supplies that used to arrive in Old Town by boat across Great Slave Lake.
Great Slave Lake. Okay. Great.
I know. So people say this Tin Can Hill is haunted. It's got ghosts, but they don't say who, what, when, where, how. But I'll give you a little bit of background about Tin Can Hill. It's volcanic rock.
Oh God.
It's 2.7 billion years old.
Whoa.
I know. Pretty cool though.
So dinosaurs haunt it.
Yeah, I bet you there's dinosaurs. Oh my God. We might be able to go there and find dinosaur ghosts. How would you explain that? I guess you couldn't
be
talk
like,
oh. All you'd hear is on the I don't fucking know.
Which is probably what you heard when someone was snoring when you were reviewing the audio the other day.
Oh my God.
That's a dinosaur. Oh no,
so,
it's Jay.
He just sounds like a lawnmower, but it says from the 30s to the 50s. Now I don't know if this is 1830s or 1930s. Prospectors would be scattered all over the hill with hammers and chisels, drilling trenches to house their dynamite sticks. And there is still evidence of the rubble left from their blasts that can be found on this hill. They eventually hit pay dirt. Yeah, so they found stuff. They found gold, I'm assuming. But yeah, it also had another value for the con miners. In early spring or late fall, when they couldn't walk over the ice or put a canoe in the lake, the only route to get to town from the mines was over Tin Can Hill. That was when the town was Old Town. And the miners would go over the hill and drop down to School Draw, so named because the school was there at the time. So apparently this hill there are still spots on this hill. It's more like an area. It's like a park. It's like an area protected from the city lights where the aurora, so your northern lights, are strong and undiluted. That's it. That's all I got. People say this place is haunted.
All right.
Wow. Maybe. I don't know. Probably Bigfoot.
Yeah, a very big foot called T-Rex. Maybe. I don't know. All right. Well, now I'm taking you to a fun little place called Back Eddy Restaurant. This is in Hay River. So I could not find much about it, like what was there prior to 1974, which is when it first opened. And it was opened by Bill Laws, who was a chef. He very quickly became one of the go-to restaurants in town. It was located in a way that when people were passing through, they could easily stop. It was one of those cool, like mom pop places you want to just go chill at. And he made a really special sauce that everyone seemed to like. And even after he sold the business in 1987, he still continued to make the sauce and would sell it worldwide, apparently. So I'm not sure what kind of sauce that was. He's long gone, I believe, but apparently it was the thing to have. In 2000, the Duford's family took possession and they owned it and they kept it as the restaurant. Bert and Olding. Olding was her name. Isn't that a great name? Olding. Bert and Olding. So as soon as they took over possession, they started noticing weird things started to happen. Like doors would swing open. They would hear loud crashes in the restaurant. They would see physical specters walking through the restaurant and out through the wall. They would see lights flashing on and off and your usual things moving around the restaurant. And then in 2006, in I put fart, but I believe it's Fort Resolution, which is a place, I guess. A very large man died. He was too big to fit in any casket available at the time. So they had to transport him in a giant white sheet. And he came to Hay River. I don't know why. I don't even know if he was buried there. It didn't say anything. The day that his body arrived, an extremely large apparition showed up at the restaurant. He was so big that he wasn't able to like fit through the door. Shortly after that, two women were in the restaurant and the light above them started flashing frantically as if they were in a rave. The restaurant owners tried to figure out what it was, tried to turn the light off, nothing would happen. So the women kind of got annoyed and they stood up to leave and the light went back to normal. And they were like, okay, so they sat back down, they continued to have a drink and the light began flashing again. This happened several times before the women were like, for fuck's sakes. And they got up and they moved over to the other side of the restaurant. So the owners were just kind of chatting and like apologizing. They weren't really sure what was going on. Had never done that before. They hadn't been able to turn it off, but as soon as the women left to the other side of the restaurant, the light stopped flickering. In conversating, they found out that the two women were actually related to the large gentleman who had passed away. And so they're thinking it was him trying to get a hold of them. Unfortunately, they nicknamed him the Michelin Man.
Oh my God.
When you see him, he looks like he's wearing a big puff, like one of those big puffy jackets because he is so large, which is awful.
Awful.
Yes. So the family actually sold the business in 2016 and it was reopened again as a restaurant, where more ghostly goings on were reported, and it has now permanently closed with no idea if anyone's going to buy it or reopen it as a restaurant or as a paranormal hotspot, which is what someone should do.
Hey,
just saying.
Manitoba, maybe you should listen up because the Northwest Territories had a haunted restaurant.
Right?
Maybe you.
Especially with the Michelin Man. Maybe he was eating all the food and you run out of business. That's why. Oh, God. No one could get it because there's this man standing in the doorway. That's it. End of story. But I could not find anything
they
about.
They could have named him Stay Puft. Like.
They could have named him his actual name. Would have been great.
Yeah.
But no, the Michelin Man is what they called him. Although the Michelin Man was supposed to be like tough, like beef guy. So I guess in a way it's supposed to be a compliment. But anyways,
can't think of anything.
No. So that's that.
All right. So last on my list, I have the Gold Range Hotel. Now, someone had posted why they think it's probably haunted, and it's because it's definitely a place where there were many characters throughout the years. It was the first place that people would go to party, to dance, to see friends. And of course, some would stay there partying for days and even weeks. Yeah. So apparently, according to this person, there were, like I said, a few characters that were there. So there was one that they called Two Gun Kelly. He was the town boss for a diamond drill company, and his office was a table at this hotel at the range.
Nice. That's like
he would
mafioso shit.
I know it's like he would sit there drinking with a big wad of cash in his pocket. When a crew came in from the field, they would arrive and get paid in cash. And people who wanted to work would often get an advance to get geared up. And of course, suppliers would drop by, and some even had the invoices for him. He also had a loaded handgun in each of his coat pockets, which was a pretty good deterrent against crime or attempted theft.
No kidding.
Yeah. Why he was called Two Gun Kelly. So apparently, there were also several queens of the range.
Oh, like
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. I don't know if they.
It's a weird thing to say. So
they're not like royalty, but I don't know if they are.
I wasn't even thinking royalty at all. I was like, is that what they call the female? And then I'm like, queen. Anyways, continue your story. I'm excited now.
There was the Caribou Queen, who grew up on a trap line and liked to dress up. She was usually the best dressed person in the bar.
Yeah, not a female, I'm pretty sure.
I was just gonna say.
Because why would they say like she liked to dress up?
I know. Then there was the Riverboat Queen, who apparently was banned from the bar a couple of times for instigating conga line dances.
What
I kind of want to go to this place and actually see if these like people are really like ghosts there. Because man, I want to do a ghostly conga line.
What a thing to be banned from first. We have to discuss this. What are you banned from? I started a fight. What did you get banned for? I smacked some glasses. What did you get banned for? I do a conga line. Come on, everybody. Apparently, was this conga line that you get
I don't
banned?
Know. But apparently, the stomping feet literally shook the building and caused a shower of dust to fall from the ceiling. That must have been a lot of friggin' people in this conga line.
Or it was the Michelin Man sister.
Who knows? Who knows? And then there was the Harvest Queen, who sold various concoctions, potions, and herbs, some of which may not have been strictly legal at the time.
Oh, nice.
So we've got a drag queen, we've got a dancer, and we've got a drug dealer.
Nice.
And lastly, there was Soggy Holly Jolly, who was a friend to everyone.
Of course. Owen.
He had a long name for sure, but late at night in a frolicking, whatever kind of bar you want to call it, names often became superfluous. So they just rolled off. Apparently, I'm like to spill my shit. All right. He was a diamond driller who liked to drink when he was in town. Mm-hmm. He would rent a room in the hotel, and between it and the bar, he would just live there. He just lived there between upstairs and downstairs. So the years eventually would take their toll, and he spent more time drinking than working. He literally became a fixture of the place, and when he ran out of money, he set a cot up in the basement. So Soggy Holly Jolly slept in the basement, then came up and was an unofficial swamper doing odd jobs like mopping up the washrooms.
Is he called the Swamper?
No, he's called Soggy Holly Jolly.
Okay. No, because where's the place that everyone goes to and there's the Swamper? And he lived in the basement. He had like a little cave dungeon in the basement. And then when they finally went in there, they found like a bunch of kids, like little kids' shoes. Where the hell is that place? Ew. The Swamper. It's a place on a lot of, if you know what it is, write in or comment, whatever. Don't write in. I don't know where you're writing to. I'll look it up.
I don't know. I've never heard of that.
But I don't know what a swamper is then. It must be something. It must have been an actual name.
I think a swamper was just somebody who just like a janitor. I want to say.
Yeah, but they lived in the gross basement of the pub in the swamp. I don't know. It's weird.
Those are,
Crazy.
those are some places that are supposedly haunted, but nobody has any actual real ghost stories or experiences from them. As I'm about ready to knock stuff off.
Stop crashing stuff. You're getting rowdy. I'm gonna
I
have to borrow
literally
you.
knocked my drink over. Luckily, it has a lid on it, and then I almost just whacked my laptop right off the thing.
Settle down.
I'm gonna sit on my hands.
Oh my
But yeah,
gosh.
so if you live in the Northwest Territories, or you've been to the Northwest Territories, or you know a different story than what we've told, we'd love to hear it because we like ghosts and
Yeah.
scary places. And apparently, the Northwest Territories doesn't really have much, which is really, like I said, strange. It's almost like
Yeah.
Manitoba.
Damn you places.
Oh my
I
god.
think it's just they're not very populated. I mean, Manitoba's a bit more than I think, probably.
Well, it's more populated than it used to be, but like, still, there should be
Yeah.
stories. I don't fucking know. I don't know.
We found enough. That's all I have to say.
We did. So that's it for that. Next week is all about, what is it? Children and the paranormal.
Ooh,
Dun, dun, dun.
love
Yeah.
it.
But yeah, but if you have a question, comment, or you want to let us know about ghosts in the Northwest Territories, send us an email, parehenormalpodcast@gmail.com. That's PAREHNORMAL podcast@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Instagram under Paranormal Podcast, and even on TikTok, because that's where we post some stuff sometimes. Yep.
I forget about TikTok. Yeah.
Yeah, if I remember, that's where it goes.
I have yet to jump on the TikTok bandwagon, so I forget about it all the time.
Don't. Because after this, I'm going in to have a bath to relax, and I'm just going to watch TikTok videos while I sit in there.
Oh, Lord. Well, you enjoy that. Think of the swamper. Soggy bottom, whatever.
Soggy Holly Jolly. No, I like, what was that one called? The Riverboat Queen, because I'm going to start a conga line that knocks the dust off of my shelves.
Nice.
In my house, I could do that on my own, but
Oh, God.
Oh, my gosh. We could do that next time we go to Wildwood. We can conga.
Yeah, it's certainly got the right record for it.
Yeah.
We'll do
Oh,
it.
my gosh. Anyways. All right, guys. Have a great week, and we will see you, talk to you, listen, whatever, next week. Because next week it's going to be March. Oh, my God. All right, guys. Have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.